Good evening. No, this is not working. Is this working?
Yeah.
Good evening. I just want to put everybody in there.
I think it works now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, could I kindly ask you to take your seats as we will be beginning this session very shortly.
Just have to speak that way, not very close to the microphone, and everyone will hear you.
Okay.
This distance is the best one.
I see. Reverse logic. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, distinguished guests. May I kindly ask you to take your seats? We will be beginning this session very shortly. Thank you very much. Thank you all once again. We are now about to begin the session. Please ensure your mobile phones are on silent mode for this session. And without further ado, it's my pleasure to give the floor to our Assistant Director General, Madame Stefania Giannini, to launch the session. Thank you. Over to you, Stefania.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter. Good afternoon, good evening, maybe everybody. Thanks for being here at the end of a very long day, intensive day. I'm very happy. It's a very important event, side event. And let me first of all say that I'm really honored to be here with all of you, Your Excellencies, on the eve of the second anniversary since the adoption of the Global Convention on the Recognition of Qualification Concerning Higher Education 2 years ago here at the General Conference 2019. And I would like to thank first the governments of Norway, Tunisia, and the United Kingdom for co-organizing this event and shining light on the crucial role of this treaty, the crucial role of universities, the crucial role that mobility and exchange between students, researchers, and knowledge, so to say, around the world still have and increasingly will have in the future. Well, higher education is dramatically evolving. Let me recall some numbers that I'm sure you know, but it's important to highlight in this specific context. Some 220 million students are enrolled today in universities around the world, a number that has almost doubled in the last 15 years and is set to double again by 2030. More than 5 million are going to study abroad, the so-called study abroad program, compared to just 2 million, more or less, in 2000. So in 20 years, this number is doubled. And the mobility is at the top of education policy agenda in all countries. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic actually has affected higher education very, very, very much. And we can say that when you adopted as member states this important convention 2 years ago, we were in a different world. And we have to take into account this different landscape we are moving on. Student mobility trends and research activities have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic through the last 1 year and a half. And at the same time, this unprecedented disruption of education somehow unlocked more innovation than in the decades before. I remember one of the very first ministerial meetings we convened at UNESCO virtually, of course, during the pandemic. At the very beginning of the pandemic, one of the ministers, I think Minister of Egypt, said that we learn in the last few weeks more on technology, digital learning at all different levels of education than in the previous decades of conferences, meetings, and so and so. And this is very much true for higher education as well. And this is also true from delivering on the Glasgow Agreement, which holds the very survival of our planet in the balance to strengthening higher education on the African continent. This is also why the circulation of knowledge and research between education systems is so important. In this framework, UNESCO and the University of Bergen in Norway, where I've been invited twice to attend and contribute to this important meeting, they yearly convene about SDGs and the contribution of universities to develop the SDGs agenda. Well, they will launch a report in early 2022, next year, on knowledge-driven actions and transformative higher education, looking at the role of universities and higher education institutions in contributing to the SDGs, which is actually the topic they are focusing very much and building this very, very inspiring network. As an international community, we must speed up efforts to build a connected higher education community, and we have to ensure universal access to digital learning and affordable tertiary education. I think it's critical to that end to strengthen the recognition of qualifications and competencies obtained through all modalities, putting also quality assurance as a very important pillar of this mechanism. And the Global Convention goes a long way in this sense with its provisions on non-traditional learning modes, keeping in the framework many different modalities of providing higher education and transmitting knowledge and research. Inclusion is another key imperative. We know everything we are doing, we are thinking, we are discussing at UNESCO is very in education, and in other sectors is about inclusion. And still the Global Convention pays particular attention to the recognition of partial studies and qualifications held by refugees and displaced persons. Let me recall with great pleasure and being a little proud from UNESCO perspective about the qualifications passport for refugees and vulnerable migrants, which has been already put in practice as a pilot project in some countries. The Global Convention actually is the first United Nations treaty on higher education with a global scope, and to be implemented in complementarity and parallel with the 5 regional recognition conventions on higher education. This facilitates recognition and mobility with the regions, while the Global Convention facilitates this between regions. By joining the Global Convention, countries commit to raising the quality of higher education at home and worldwide, strengthening international cooperation, and helping make academic mobility and the recognition of qualifications a reality for millions of students and researchers. And this is very much about the right to education, which doesn't end in schools, but has to be extended to colleges and universities. I wish to recognize the 5 states parties: Norway, Nicaragua, Estonia, France, and Romania, and also soon welcome Tunisia and the United Kingdom and all member states preparing to deposit their instruments of ratification. I hope that we will see this treaty enter into force by the 3rd World Higher Education Conference that, you remember, will take place in Barcelona, 17-19 May. So we have time, not so much, but we can get it. And I think that we have to really and this side event is very much about that, advocacy and transmitting the same enthusiasm and investment as member states that you already done, some of you at least, and some other, about recognizing this important instrument to other countries. I thank you for your attention. I look forward to our discussion, and I think that from November 2021 to May 2022, we really can have the Global Convention in action, operational, if some other member states will take the commitment starting from this meeting today. Thank you very much. Alors, on peut commencer la réunion. Je pense que c'est moi, non? Oui, merci. J'aimerais commencer alors par la région arabe et féliciter la Tunisie qui s'apprête à déposer son instrument de ratification pour la Convention mondiale la semaine prochaine, devenant ainsi le 6e État partie. Et j'invite avec plaisir son Excellence, M. Fethi Selaouti, ministre de l'Éducation, qui est ici avec nous en présentiel, à prendre la parole. Monsieur le ministre.
Merci beaucoup, chère madame. Donc, madame la directrice générale adjointe, mesdames et messieurs, je tiens tout d'abord à vous féliciter, à vous souhaiter la bienvenue parmi nous pour cette rencontre ô combien importante pour nous, puisque, comme vous le savez, la Tunisie, avec la Norvège et la Grande-Bretagne, vous ont convié pour cette réunion en marge du Congrès général. Et bien sûr, c'est un événement d'une première importance et d'une grande importance pour moi, qui suis à l'origine un enseignant universitaire, de l'université la plus importante de Tunisie, la seule université qui figure parmi le top 1000 du classement mondial, du classement des universités de Shanghai. Donc, pour avoir exercé ces fonctions-là, j'ai eu à gérer plusieurs programmes de mobilité des étudiants. Et je tiens à vous dire de prime abord que j'ai constaté que ces mobilités ont totalement transformé nos étudiants. À leur retour en Tunisie, on a affaire à de nouvelles mentalités, à des étudiants beaucoup plus ouverts, à des étudiants beaucoup plus réceptifs. Et donc, je ne peux que souligner l'importance extrême de ces mobilités. Il est évident qu'en relation avec cette convention sur la reconnaissance des qualifications dans l'enseignement supérieur est très importante pour nous en Tunisie, mais pour nous tous, j'espère, dans cette salle, puisque ça va nous faciliter cette mobilité, ça va rapprocher nos étudiants et ça va créer un climat favorable pour plus de partage, pour plus de reconnaissance, pour plus d'amitié, etc. Donc plus de paix entre nos pays, et ça c'est important. Comme vous le savez, mon pays, la Tunisie, c'est un petit pays, c'est vrai, mais c'est l'un des pays les plus ouverts au monde si on mesure cela par les échanges extérieurs rapportés au PIB, c'est l'un des pays les plus ouverts au monde. Cette ouverture a été entamée juste après l'indépendance et nous sommes fiers aujourd'hui d'avoir un système éducatif relativement efficace puisque nous enregistrons actuellement plusieurs centaines, voire même plusieurs milliers de diplômés tunisiens qui sont reconnus à travers le monde et qui sont demandés un peu partout dans le monde et notamment dans les pays du Golfe, mais aussi en France et en Allemagne, où on a des milliers quand même de médecins et d'ingénieurs, et notamment ingénieurs en informatique. Cela veut dire que ce petit pays qui a énormément investi et qui continue à le faire au niveau de l'éducation est fier de ses réalisations, même si pour certains c'est une perte pour le pays. Pour moi, personnellement, je considère que c'est une richesse parce que le fait d'avoir des diplômés bien formés, même s'ils vont exercer ailleurs, il va y avoir une contrepartie par la suite pour le pays d'origine. Et par conséquent, on ne peut que qu'encourager ce genre de mobilité. Et il est sûr que cette convention, qui est la première convention globale sur l'enseignement supérieur, va nous aider énormément, va rapprocher nos étudiants, va créer une synergie entre nos institutions et donc va faciliter la vie à nos étudiants, la vie à nos responsables au niveau de nos universités. Il est évident que beaucoup de choses restent à faire sur ce plan-là. Et on doit, la main dans la main, continuer dans cette voie-là au niveau de la reconnaissance des qualifications, puisque ça va être un facteur encourageant, un facteur déterminant pour amorcer ce mouvement qu'on espère très positif pour nos pays. Je vais maintenant céder la parole à mon cher collègue ici présent, le représentant de la Tunisie à l'UNESCO. Il a certainement autre chose à dire, plus de choses à dire. Merci.
La première, Monsieur le Ministre, c'est de vous remercier, de me donner la parole et j'espère que Madame la Directrice Générale Adjointe en est aussi d'accord. Je ne serai pas lent, juste pour dire, nous travaillons tous ici à l'UNESCO sur la base de conventions que d'autres ont faites avant nous. Et nous citons celle de 70, celle de 72, et c'est le mérite que d'autres ont fait pour nous. Et c'est à nous de transformer notre moment actuel, non seulement de gestion de ce qui a été fait, mais de créer ce que d'autres diplomates et d'autres acteurs du multilatéral, universitaire et éducationnel feront. Prenons conscience du moment historique et c'est un appel au nom de la Tunisie pour que tous ceux qui hésitent encore nous rejoignent. Qui hésiterait à l'idée d'une reconnaissance globale des qualifications universitaires? L'idée est chevillée à la mission même de l'UNESCO. Je suis sûr que d'autres le diront avec pertinence et brio. Juste pour dire, nous discutons à l'UNESCO dans d'autres salles sur les sciences ouvertes. Nous ne croyons pas en des sciences ouvertes sans une qualification, une reconnaissance ouverte des qualifications universitaires. Cela nous semble relever d'une cohérence globale de ce que fait l'UNESCO et donc bienvenue à cette convention à ceux qui y pensent et je sais que beaucoup y travaillent et à l'entrée en vigueur telle que Madame la Directrice Générale Adjointe l'a rappelé. Merci Monsieur le Ministre de m'avoir donné la parole.
Merci beaucoup la Tunisie et merci pour cette intervention chorale qui nous donne l'impression de l'engagement du pays sur ce thème crucial. And while I warm welcome His Excellency the Ambassador Selvak for joining us on behalf of Norway, I wish to invite you to view the video message of His Excellency Mr. Oddmund Løkensgard Hull. I hope the pronunciation is almost pretty fine. Deputy Minister of Research and Higher Education of Norway. Please.
This year, UNESCO is celebrating its 75th anniversary. For almost as long, there has been a desire to improve the conditions for academic mobility. The founding fathers of UNESCO expressed their desire to adopt a global convention on recognition of higher education already in 1947. They did so because they understood that the road to a peaceful world had to go through cross-border dialogue and intercultural understanding. In the UNESCO Constitution, they wrote that ignorance of each other's ways and lives has been a common cause throughout the history of mankind, of that suspicion and mistrust between the peoples of the world through which their differences have all too often broken into war. To fight ignorance about each other's ways and lives, we need to promote movement of people. We need to promote opportunities for the future generation of leaders to study abroad and learn to understand other cultures, other languages, and the history of which those languages and cultures are based upon. That is why Norway promotes academic mobility and the right to have your qualifications recognized globally, and that is why we celebrated when the Global Convention on the Recognition of Higher Education Qualifications was adopted by the UNESCO General Conference 2 years ago. The decision was a success because this convention is highly needed among millions of past, present and future students studying outside of their own country. Through the Sustainable Development Goals, we have promised to secure equal access for all to affordable higher education. But strangely enough, having graduated from higher education doesn't automatically mean that you will be allowed to use your acquired knowledge and skills if you wish to do so in another country than the country you studied. It should be obvious that you can bring your qualifications with you, no matter where you move and which borders you cross. But up until now, this has not been the case. We have had no global legal instrument regulating yours and my individual rights to have our qualifications recognized outside our own region. Before I was appointed Deputy Minister, I was a professor of history. I have formal qualifications to perform research and to teach in higher education. But if I moved to a country outside the European region, I still have no legal right to have my qualifications recognized and could end up in a situation where I was considered not qualified for any position within higher education and research. Luckily, I have not experienced such a situation, but thousands of others have. It is our responsibility to make sure that this will no longer happen in the future. For Norway, it has been important that the Convention also includes provisions for the most vulnerable groups. The UNESCO qualifications passport for refugees and vulnerable migrants is therefore important. It has identical recognition methodology as the European Qualifications Passport for Refugees by the Council of Europe, and Norway has provided financial contributions for both projects. We hope it can become a crucial tool and an inspiration for member states in implementing solutions for individuals with higher education qualifications suffering from forced migration. We can all understand that when you have to flee from war or natural disasters, your diplomas is not the first thing you bring with you. But that shouldn't mean that you cannot be allowed to work in the profession you are trained for. The biggest asset of any country, north or south, is its population, its human capital. Not recognizing actual qualifications is a big waste of human capital. If we are to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we need to use all our assets. And to do that, we must recognize individual qualifications and allow people to use their knowledge and skills to the best of our societies. That is the bottom line. Now we have the convention. It is adopted and ready to be implemented, but we still need more countries to ratify it before it enters into force. I urge all countries to join those of us who have ratified the convention and work to have it ratified in your country as soon as possible. When you do, Norway stands ready to work together with you to implement it to the best of our past, present and future students who are eager to put their skills to use to make a better life for themselves, for their families and for the society to which they belong. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Deputy Minister Lekensgaard Hull. I kindly ask next speakers to watch the time because we are scheduled in principle to end this meeting at 7. Je vais donner la parole à ce point à Son Excellence Madame Simona Mirela Miculescu, ambassadeur de la Roumanie auprès de l'UNESCO, pays qui a ratifié la Convention mondiale cet été. Merci.
Madame la directrice générale adjointe, Monsieur le ministre, Vos Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, tout d'abord, je dois présenter les regrets sincères, pas seulement polis, du ministre de l'Éducation de Roumanie qui a dû retourner ce soir dans notre pays pour des raisons urgentes. Mais puisque j'étais professeur avant d'être diplomate, je me sens dans mon élément, je suis honorée, ce n'est pas seulement un devoir, mais aussi un plaisir de vous adresser les réflexions de la Roumanie à ce moment et à cet événement très intéressant. Donc, pour ça, je voudrais remercier la Norvège, le Royaume-Uni et la Tunisie pour l'organisation de cette session. Et le fait que la Roumanie soit un des 5 premiers pays ayant ratifié en fait, la Convention montre notre sincère attachement pour l'internationalisation de l'enseignement supérieur sur la base des standards communs de qualité. Les principes généraux inscrits dans la Convention selon lesquels la procédure de reconnaissance des qualifications doit être transparente, équitable, opportune et non discriminatoire vont faciliter clairement la mobilité académique et professionnelle dans un monde globalisé et en pleine dynamique. Les obligations concernant la reconnaissance des études universitaires à temps partiel et des acquis antérieurs en vue de finaliser ou de poursuivre des études universitaires ou la reconnaissance des études universitaires à temps partiel et des qualifications, y compris de celles des réfugiés et des personnes déplacées, représentent des défis communs. Et bien sûr, la meilleure approche, c'est de travailler ensemble pour les surpasser. Et je suis sûre qu'on le fera. En Roumanie, le Centre national de reconnaissance et d'équivalence des diplômes devient, selon la Convention, la structure nationale de mise en œuvre, bénéficiant de l'appui des autres départements et organismes spécialisés du ministère de l'Éducation, en coopération avec les établissements d'enseignement supérieur en Roumanie. Il est évident que la Convention nous rassemble, pas seulement ce soir, mais dès maintenant, pour construire en commun l'avenir global de l'enseignement supérieur en assurant la richesse de la diversité de la politique et des politiques nationales d'éducation. C'est pour cela que je peux seulement souhaiter, sans créer des problèmes aux interprètes, vivat, crescat, floreat. Merci.
Merci pour la citation en latin aussi que nous avons. Let's now turn to the video, a message of Ms. Kristi Winter-Nemvalds, Secretary General at the Estonian Ministry of Education and Research. I would like also to welcome Consul Katrin Rhein, representing Estonia's delegation to the General Conference, who is here with us. Please send the video.
Madam Assistant Director General, Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for bringing together this important event. I would like to start by noting that the Global Recognition Convention is a milestone for easing the recognition of higher education qualifications, academic mobility, and cooperation and research activities between countries, regions, and education systems. The convention is drafted in the same spirit as regional conventions. Joining the convention is easy for countries of any UNESCO region. It helps us to understand the provisions and implement the principles of the Global Convention. As pointed out by UNESCO's introduction to the Global Convention, it offers avenues for further studies. It also makes it easy for students abroad to return home and have their degrees recognized. However, it is not only a convention for recognition of qualifications. There are several other impacts that the convention brings. Strong evidence shows that it could achieve further harmonization of quality assurance in higher education and increase mutual trust for the quality of educational systems. The convention has also potential to forward the harmonization of assessment criteria and procedures for smooth and flexible recognition. Here, we see an opportunity for wider academic cooperation between higher education institutions across borders. There are also options for international and interregional cooperation between national and other competent authorities for any academic activity. We already have several good examples of excellent regional networking in Europe and Asia Pacific. Nevertheless, we need to deepen and expand the networking between the institutions, including regional information networks of different regions. As a party to the convention, Estonia is confident and the Global Convention will forward and promote this cooperation. In the last decade, higher education sector has gone through impressive developments. Implementing the Global Recognition Convention brings us the new elements that are not covered in regional conventions. To mention a few, recognition of cross-border qualifications, including joint degrees, recognition of informal and non-formal learning, recognition based on learning outcomes, and finally, recognition of non-traditional learning, which is especially relevant in the COVID-19 situation. Estonia participates actively in the European and international higher education activities. Recognition of qualifications is one of our priorities. We note that academic cooperation and student mobility is impossible without fair and transparent recognition of qualifications. At national level, we have worked to improve our assessment and foreign qualifications recognition system for more than 20 years. Our legislation allows us to handle foreign qualifications with the same criteria and procedure for all countries in the world. Estonian students' international mobility is increasing. Thus, the Global Convention is a platform for recognition of Estonian qualifications and creating better access to study in other regions. Estonia is also an attractive study destination for students coming outside of the European region. Our interest is to give international students to guarantee that when returning home or moving to another country, their Estonian degree is recognized and they can use it for further studies, research activities, or employment. We must think not only on how we can recognize foreign qualifications, but also how our national qualifications are recognized abroad. Thus, the Global Convention is an instrument in everyone's interest. Recognition of qualifications also means recognition of different cultures, traditions, and diversity. We are glad to note that several countries have taken the step to join this convention, and I hope many will follow. We are grateful to UNESCO and all the national experts for their great work in the development of the concept and preparation of this convention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the Secretary General, and from Nicaragua to from Estonia to Nicaragua now. Quiero dar la palabra a la señora Ramona Rodríguez Pérez, presidenta del Consejo Nacional de Universidades y rectora de la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Nicaragua. Ella participará a través de un mensaje de video, mientras que la delegada permanente adjunta ante la UNESCO, la señora Silvia Miranda Paniagua, está con nosotros en la sala. Bienvenida. Video.
En nombre del Consejo Nacional de Universidades de Nicaragua, CNU, y del Consejo Universitario de la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Nicaragua, UNAM Managua, tengo el honor de transmitirles un cordial saludo a ministros y ministras de Educación Superior participantes en esta mesa redonda sobre el reconocimiento de las cualificaciones relativas a la educación superior en representación de los Estados partes, Noruega, Estonia, Francia y Rumanía. En primer lugar, quiero señalar que los Objetivos para el Desarrollo Sostenible, ODS, constituyen un punto de referencia esencial para el desarrollo integral de nuestras sociedades. El quehacer de las universidades está directamente ligado al significado y propósito de los ODS prácticamente en todos sus alcances. Los planes estratégicos de la educación superior deben estar en concordancia con la búsqueda del pleno cumplimiento de la Agenda 2030, en particular con el objetivo número 4, en el que se establece garantizar una educación inclusiva, equitativa y de calidad y promover oportunidad de aprendizaje durante toda la vida para todos y todas. Nicaragua ha ratificado la Convención Mundial por sus múltiples beneficios para los estudiantes y para los profesionales. En particular, como educación superior nicaragüense, nos corresponde promover en nuestros estudiantes, académicos y trabajadores no docentes el conocimiento y la práctica sobre el desarrollo sostenible mediante la educación y la promoción de los estilos de vida sostenibles, la igualdad de género y la promoción de una cultura de paz y no violencia. Nuestras universidades deben de ser cada vez más inclusivas, interculturales y equitativas, donde el respeto a la diversidad y los derechos humanos en su amplio sentido sea una realidad permanente en el quehacer cotidiano. La Convención propiciará la circulación y la apropiación del conocimiento como bien social estratégico en favor del desarrollo sostenible de nuestro país. En este contexto, la internacionalización se constituye en una herramienta clave para transformar la educación superior, fortaleciendo la calidad y pertinencia de la docencia, la investigación y la extensión universitaria o vinculación social. En el contexto de pandemia que estamos enfrentando, se deben de aprovechar los convenios para potenciar la movilidad virtual en materia de investigación, de formación y de extensión o vinculación universitaria, así como para el reconocimiento de las cualificaciones. Las universidades del mundo han potencializado el uso de las tecnologías de la información y comunicación para crear nuevas formas y mecanismos de enseñanza-aprendizaje. Los entornos virtuales de aprendizaje se constituyen en uno de los ejes fundamentales del aprovechamiento tecnológico para ampliar la cobertura educativa e innovar estrategias didácticas que contribuyan en la formación para toda la vida. En consecuencia, la Convención Mundial debe contribuir a reforzar la cooperación internacional solidaria y a promover programas de becas que puedan acompañar la movilidad estudiantil para estudios parciales y de académicos para estudios de posgrado, principalmente doctorado, y también para la realización de investigaciones conjuntas. A partir de la convención se deben generar convenios específicos entre estados y entre universidades para facilitar la movilidad y el reconocimiento de las cualificaciones. En Nicaragua estamos desarrollando nuestro modelo educativo centrado en la persona, la familia y la comunidad, garantizando la educación gratuita, pertinente y de calidad. En consonancia, estamos en un proceso de evaluación con fines de acreditación institucional y de programa, con el fin de prepararnos en correspondencia con la Convención. Nos disponemos para facilitar los procesos que hagan efectiva la movilidad de las personas y los conocimientos con base en la Convención. Finalizo reiterando nuestro saludo desde Nicaragua para todos los participantes en este importante evento.
Muchas gracias a la señora rectora de la UNAM. And I wish to give now the floor to the Deputy Director of International Education at the Department for Education, Ms. Faye Taylor, who is here with us from the UK. UK, by the way, will soon be the positive instrument, and we are very happy for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a pleasure to be here today. I've been introduced as Deputy Director for International at the Department for Education, but I was also previously a lecturer in history myself as well. So, our Minister for Skills, Alex Burghardt, asked me to express his sincere apologies for not being able to join us today, but I'm very pleased to be speaking to you on his behalf. And we'd especially like to thank the co-hosts of this event, Norway and Tunisia, and also our colleagues at the UNESCO Secretariat who've worked tirelessly to help us put this together. So I'd like to start by saying what a privilege it is to be able to share this roundtable discussion with all so many countries from other parts of the world. This shows the truly global reach of the convention and helps explain why the United Kingdom is pleased to be one of the first countries to announce its intention to ratify, and we are really hopeful this will be by the end of this year. In fact, the timing of this roundtable event is particularly special as it coincides with UNESCO celebrating its 75th anniversary. As you may know, in 1942, the then Education Minister, Rab Butler, convened the Conference of Allied Ministers of Education in London that led to the founding of UNESCO in 1945. To have the foresight during World War II to convene these education ministers to think together of a better world was quite extraordinary. And it would also seem appropriate that in the wake of COVID-19, which has had such an impact on the world, but also on higher education, that UNESCO is launching this global convention. The adaptability of the UK higher education sector has been remarkable throughout the pandemic. Despite the significant uncertainty we've faced over the last 2 years and indeed continue to face, incredible things have been achieved, such as innovative methods of provision, including digital teaching and learning. This has opened up opportunities for people around the world to access the UK's education and has had a profound effect on perceptions of online education in particular. For universities to thrive, we strongly believe that despite the incredible upheaval experienced and the challenges we face, we must grasp these opportunities. So it's an honour for me to be able to represent the United Kingdom and carry on our celebrated and rich history of collaboration at such a momentous time. The UK fully supports the aims of the Global Convention. For us all, it will facilitate academic mobility at an interregional and now global level on the basis of fair and transparent principles, and improve access to further studies and employment. Recognition of educational qualifications is a powerful tool in efforts to build inclusive societies, including for those with qualifications who are living now in new homes overseas, and especially refugees and displaced peoples. We hope that this ambitious global initiative will help us and other countries and regions to continue to develop, to build trust in, and to improve the quality of our higher education systems. The Global Convention also supports UK government objectives around the facilitation of mobility, provision of UK education overseas, attracting international students to the UK, international recognition and benchmarking of UK qualifications, and international collaboration on higher education. These are some of the core priorities of our international education strategy. By streamlining and improving the transparency and fairness of recognition processes, the Global Convention should enhance the ability of students from all countries to study for our UK qualifications, as well as others, both in the UK and through transnational education provision, as well as facilitating the mobility of UK students and professionals to go overseas. The UK has maintained its highly competitive position in global education, and academic mobility is a topic of growing importance. We are the second most popular study destination in the world for international students, behind the US, and indeed the UK's higher education is increasingly internationalised and open to the world. This has been helped by our involvement in the Regional Convention on the Recognition of Qualifications Concerning Higher Education in the European region, the Lisbon Recognition Convention, and in the European higher education area. However, returning students can find it difficult to communicate to potential employers the soft skills and knowledge they gained while studying abroad, as well as the recognition of any HE qualifications they might have gained. So having a transparent and fair recognition process will help these students transition into employment which suits the qualifications that they've gained. The United Kingdom believes that the UNESCO Global Convention can be the basis of that transparent and fair recognition process. But for the Convention to benefit all Member States and to encourage the free exchange of ideas and cultures provided by international study, it's so important that as many countries ratify the Convention as possible. So to sum up, I know everyone here today is equally passionate about education. With Tunisia and Norway, all the countries as well around this table believe in the benefits of the UNESCO Global Convention. We hope that we've given other countries some insights into the reasons why the United Kingdom is ratifying, and that we encourage other Member States to join the countries represented here to become part of history and ratify the UNESCO Global Convention too. So it's been a pleasure to be part of this fantastic event. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you very much. And looking forward to hear good news from London, as I said, hopefully by the end of this year, as London has been the home of UNESCO, as you recalled it correctly. Et j'aimerais à ce point me tourner vers notre dernière intervenante, Madame Suzy Halimi, ancienne présidente de la Sorbonne Université à Paris, grande spécialiste de la petite enfance et de beaucoup des autres sujets très importants. Merci.
Merci. Excellence.
Oui, excusez-moi, qui représente la France, naturellement.
Oui. Excellence, Madame la directrice générale adjointe pour l'éducation, chère Madame Giannini, Mesdames et Messieurs, permettez-moi d'abord d'adresser mes sincères remerciements à Peter Wells et au secrétariat de l'UNESCO qui ont accompagné la préparation de cette convention pendant plusieurs années. Et de remercier aussi mon pays, la France, qui m'a confié le soin de la représenter dans ce groupe d'experts et qui m'a donné l'honneur d'intervenir aujourd'hui parmi vous. Il me paraît important d'abord de rappeler comment ce texte a été préparé, parce qu'il y va de sa légitimité. Un groupe d'experts internationaux a été mis en place, réuni une fois, 2 fois par an, plusieurs années, et à chaque réunion, nous étudions page après page, ligne après ligne, mot après mot de ce texte qui a été vraiment examiné de très près. Les États membres ont été associés à ce processus par des consultations, ils ont été consultés, ils ont été invités à faire leurs remarques à leurs suggestions, et le secrétariat a intégré toutes ces remarques, toutes ces propositions dans un document qui finalement a été consensuel, adopté par acclamation à la dernière réunion du groupe de travail et adopté à l'unanimité par la dernière conférence générale. Alors, pourquoi cette convention? Pourquoi cette convention mondiale? À l'heure de la mondialisation, la mobilité des étudiants, des travailleurs s'intensifie et chacun a besoin d'une reconnaissance de ses acquis pour une poursuite d'études ou pour pouvoir s'intégrer sur le marché du travail. Le processus de Bologne avait répondu à cette attente pour l'espace européen. L'UNESCO a suscité, a accompagné la création de documents, de processus similaires dans toutes les régions du monde. Il nous fallait un outil mondial pour couronner tout cet édifice. Et je précise tout de suite que les conventions régionales qui existent partout ne sont pas rendues caduques par la Convention mondiale. Lorsqu'il y a un demandeur de reconnaissance, c'est le document le plus avantageux pour lui qui sera pris en considération. Alors je voudrais mettre en valeur quelques points qui me paraissent importants de cette convention. D'abord, des définitions précises, minutieuses de tous les termes employés de façon à ce que tout le monde parle, si je peux dire, la même langue. Ont été définis tous les termes depuis accès à l'enseignement supérieur jusqu'à reconnaissance. Les objectifs de la Convention ont été clairement définis. Il s'agit de favoriser, de faciliter la mobilité des jeunes et des moins jeunes. On y a affirmé dans ce document que l'enseignement supérieur est un bien public et une responsabilité publique, ce qui était très important. On a répété, on a inscrit dans le texte la protection des libertés académiques et l'autonomie des établissements d'enseignement supérieur. Nous avons défini pour la reconnaissance ce qu'on appelait les conditions générales, les conditions spécifiques de reconnaissance des qualifications et surtout la fameuse clause des différences substantielles. Enfin, dans le texte, on lit l'obligation qui est faite à tout établissement qui refuserait la reconnaissance d'expliquer les raisons de son refus et de les expliquer clairement, le requérant gardant le droit d'appel. Enfin, nous y avons inscrit la reconnaissance des acquis de l'éducation formelle, mais aussi de l'éducation non formelle. Et je me souviens de cette belle séance où nous y avons ajouté la reconnaissance de la validation des acquis de l'expérience, la VAE. Enfin, les processus de reconnaissance repose, et nous l'avons rappelé dans le texte, sur la confiance, sur des procédures équitables, dans le respect de la diversité culturelle, le respect des genres, le respect de la diversité linguistique, sociale et le refus de toute discrimination dans la reconnaissance des qualifications. Nous allons parler dans cette enceinte de la recommandation de 1960 sur le refus de toute discrimination dans l'enseignement dans l'éducation. Avec ces quelques mots que j'ai tenu à rajouter, nous retrouvons, Madame la Directrice Générale Adjointe, les valeurs de l'UNESCO. Elles sont inscrites dans ce texte qui n'est pas seulement un texte technique, mais un texte qui rappelle que nous sommes à l'UNESCO avec toutes les valeurs qu'elle nous enseigne. Pour terminer, Madame la Directrice, permettez au professeur que je suis, à l'ancienne présidente de mon université, la Sorbonne, de remercier l'UNESCO, le secrétariat et tous les participants pour cette merveilleuse convention sur la reconnaissance des qualifications relatives à l'enseignement supérieur, et tout cela au service de notre jeunesse. Je sais, Madame la Directrice Générale Adjointe, que la jeunesse est maintenant une nouvelle priorité de l'UNESCO. Ce texte de la Convention mondiale est pour la jeunesse. Merci pour votre attention.
Merci beaucoup. C'est nous, c'est moi, à vous remercier vraiment pour tout l'engagement, l'expertise que vous avez mis à disposition de l'organisation depuis le début de ce processus. Oui, je l'avais vu des positions différentes dans ma carrière. Et vraiment, c'est, comme vous avez dit, c'est un instrument merveilleux parce que c'est la synthèse des valeurs, des outils techniques et aussi des opportunités pour la jeunesse dans ce contexte, surtout de mondialisation. Merci beaucoup. Alors, on a terminé la liste des orateurs prévus. J'ai une requête des autres pays. Australia, I understand, wish to take the floor. We still have 10 minutes, and thanks to translators being available to stay for some additional 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As the Australian Ambassador to UNESCO, I'm delighted to join this forum on the Global Convention on the Recognition of Qualifications Concerning Higher Education. The adoption of this UNESCO Convention 2 years ago was a significant milestone in education. It signalled to the world that the recognition of qualifications is an integral part of global higher education quality and standards. I'd like to congratulate those countries who have ratified the convention already, the co-hosts today, and to the UNESCO Secretariat for your ongoing hard work and your leadership over many years to deliver this convention. Australia agrees wholeheartedly with the previous speakers that global cooperation in this field has the potential to reap immense benefits for any member state that seeks to be a part of a community of practice that can make a real difference to an individual's quality of life through access to education and employment opportunities. The very opportunities vital for achieving the global commitments that we have made in the Sustainable Development Goals. The impact of the global pandemic has only reinforced how significant the Global Convention is, where we've seen dramatic changes in the education and employment landscapes, including the rapid uptake of online learning and remote work to ensure continuity. The Global Convention places a spotlight on diverse, new and innovative modes of education delivery and the essential place they now occupy to enhance resilience in all of our education systems. It gives me great pleasure to share with you that Australia is well underway in its process towards ratification of the Convention. Australia's success in the international... Australia's success in the internationalisation of its education and training system attests to the value of our long-term investment in qualifications recognition, and it shows the tangible benefits of investing in global qualification mobility through this convention. I look forward to sharing Australia's ratification with you when it's completed, and I encourage other countries across all regions to join the Global Convention to ensure balanced regional representation when it enters into force. Again, congratulations to those who've already joined the convention, and we look forward to joining you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your contribution to the debate and also for announcing this important next step. I also have, I think, the last speaker, the distinguished representative of the OLEC, and then we close, really, as we are 5 minutes.
Dear Director General, dear colleagues, I'm glad to announce that also the Holy See will deposit within the next days during this General Conference in the person of our permanent representative, Monsignor Follo, our instrument of ratification. We had been honored to be part of the group to draft this text, and therefore I'm also very glad for this very beautiful analysis and this laudatio to the Global Convention. And we believe that today's situation, not only because of the pandemic, demonstrates us that the greater problems of our world are only to be resolved globally. So the attempt of this work which we did, the attempt of the convention, is to put into the focus a global view, which I would say is not just a geographically global view, but also as we are working for a global approach to education, looking at the hearts, at the hands of and the heads of people, and seeing education as something which deals with the whole human person and whole mankind. Therefore, I'm grateful for all who have worked for this and happy that many will join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monsignor Becchina, for this other positive good news you share with us. And the very, very last speaker, Lithuania. I'm giving the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Director General. I'll be very quick because I'm well aware that we're short on time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to announce that just last week the Lithuanian Parliament voted favorably for the ratification of this document, and just yesterday the President actually signed the law on its ratification. So later this, So later this month, we will be depositing the instrument of ratification to UNESCO. Lithuanian experts were actively involved in the consultations when this convention was being prepared. We are glad that our Ministry of Education immediately recognized the importance of this document and successfully led the processes needed to adopt it. We believe that the Global Convention really has the power to improve the access to and mobility between higher education institutions worldwide by establishing universal principles for the recognition of qualifications. So we take this opportunity to encourage other countries, other member states to join the global network committed to helping students pursue their studies and research. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I thank you, really, all of you. I think the key words has been mentioned by Professor Suzy Amili, freedom, respect of cultural diversity and linguistic diversity, and trust, la confiance qui est à la base de ces instruments comme toutes les choses plus importantes de la vie. Merci beaucoup. On a seulement une petite vidéo pour vraiment terminer au mieux cette grande réunion et nous vous remercions vraiment chaleureusement. Merci.
In November 2019, UNESCO adopted the Global Convention on the Recognition of Qualifications Concerning Higher Education. The convention aims to facilitate the mobility of students, researchers, and education personnel. and to enhance access and inclusion in education. It ensures the right to have a qualification assessed in a fair, transparent, and non-discriminatory manner. For this purpose, the Convention establishes a legal framework on the recognition of higher education qualifications. But what is the recognition of qualifications? Recognition is a formal acknowledgement by a competent recognition authority about the validity and academic level of a foreign education qualification, of partial studies, or prior learning. Recognition is important because it provides the right to apply for admission to higher education studies and the possibility to seek employment opportunities. Recognition is also a powerful tool to facilitate mobility from one country to another, from one region to another, to study, research, teach, or work. Recognition enables the mobility of higher education qualifications from one education system to another. Who seeks recognition? Individuals who have acquired a qualification or partially completed a higher education program or acquired prior learning in another country. Recognition is undertaken by recognition authorities that assess qualifications and make decisions on the recognition of qualifications according to laws, regulations, policies, or practices of a country. Recognition authorities are often public institutions, but they may also be private companies, foundations, or non-governmental organizations. They may serve as door openers and gatekeepers. Their roles must be balanced carefully. Higher education institutions often play a central role in recognition matters. In most countries, they have the power to make decisions regarding admission to education programs and may also be involved in recognition of prior learning. Recognition authorities should conduct the recognition assessments in good faith, giving clear reasons for decisions. Their decisions must be based on appropriate, reliable, accessible, and up-to-date information on higher education systems, institutions, programs, and quality assurance mechanisms. Trust, transparency, fairness, timeliness, and non-discrimination are principles that must be considered during the recognition process. The recognition process should ensure the right to appeal of applicants. Information exchange between higher education systems must be encouraged during the recognition process, and the diversity of higher education systems respected. More than 5 million students are pursuing their higher education abroad, a number that has tripled in the last 20 years and is expected to grow. The recognition of qualifications is thus now more relevant than ever. To provide a practical approach to the recognition of foreign qualifications and to support the implementation of the Global Convention, UNESCO launched a practical guide to recognition for credential evaluators and for individuals seeking recognition of their foreign qualifications. The practical guide is meant to facilitate recognition, mobility, as well as the circulation of knowledge and research between education systems. UNESCO calls on its member states to join the Global Convention and improve higher education for millions of learners around the world.